Welcome back everyone to the Daily Chit Chat. Today, Paul and I are diving into something we all do every single day, often without even thinking about it. Asking for things, making requests, or just generally trying to communicate in a polite, yet effective, way. It's an art form, honestly.
You know, Lily, it really is. Like just yesterday I was trying to book an appointment and it felt like I was trying to decipher an ancient riddle. I called and said, "Hello, can I make an appointment over the phone?" Simple enough, right?
Seems straightforward. What happened?
I then asked, "Can I make an appointment for 7 a.m. on Wednesday?" And the person on the other end was like, "I'm sorry, you cannot make an appointment for that time. The office does not open until 9 a.m.
Oh, classic. You just assume things are open at certain times, especially early in the morning. Did you get it sorted?
Eventually, I tried again, "Can I make the appointment for 11:30 a.m.? And they finally said, "Yes, 11:30 a.m. on Wednesday should be fine." Like, a simple "our hours are 9 to 5 at the beginning" would have saved us both some time, you know?
Totally. It's funny how a little upfront information can prevent so much back and forth. It makes you realize how much unspoken context we rely on in conversations. Speaking of asking for things, do you remember when you asked me to burn a CD for you a while back? Talk about a throwback.
Oh man, the CD burning days. Yeah, I came to you, "Hey, can you help me?" And you, being the tech wizard you are, were like, "Sure, what do you need?" I was so lost back then. Do you know how to burn a CD?
And I was like, sure, I know how to burn a CD. It was a common skill once upon a time. You wanted to make a CD of your favorite songs, right?
Exactly. I want to make a CD of my favorite songs. And you just calmly said, "Okay, no problem, I can do that, it's easy." You made it seem so simple, which it was for you.
Well, you brought all the components. Where are the CDs you want copied? Here they are. And here are the songs I want copied. And here is a blank CD. You were prepared, which always helps when asking for help.
Yeah, and I tried to pay you, remember? "Thanks, I'll pay you." And you were like, "You don't need to pay me, it's my pleasure." That's a good friend right there. That's true generosity.
It was truly my pleasure. But sometimes, even with the best intentions, you can't always fully help someone, which is a different kind of challenge. Like that time I saw someone struggling with a scooter. This poor guy, "Excuse me, can you give me a hand?"
Oh, I've been there. What happened?
He said, "My scooter has a flat tire." So I asked, "Is it flat or did you puncture it?" Trying to get a clearer picture. He wasn't sure. "I'm not sure. I think it has a puncture." I offered, "Would you like me to help you change it? Because I actually know how to do that."
That's super nice of you. What was his reaction?
He was so relieved. That would be nice. I've never changed a flat tire before. And I was ready to empower him. "Well, I'll show you how to do it. Thanks. And if it ever happens again, you can do it yourself." He was really grateful. "Thanks so much. You are very kind. It's my pleasure."
So, a happy ending then?
Not quite. I then asked, "Do you have a spare tire?" And he said, "I don't have one." My heart just sank. I had to tell him, "Oh, sorry, I can't help you then." All that willingness to help, but no spare part.
That's such a bummer. It's like you can have all the knowledge and willingness, but without the right tools, sometimes you're just stuck. Reminds me of the time I tried to make a grand romantic gesture, a song request on the radio.
"Oh, Paul, this sounds like it's going to be good. Details, please."
Okay, so I called WKRP Radio, right? All excited. "Hello, WKRP Radio." And the DJ picked up, "Hi, I would like to request a song." He was very professional. "What song would you like to request?"
What did you pick? Something classic, I hope?
"Of course, I'd like to request Hotel California by the Eagles." The DJ goes, "All right, that's a great song. Who do you want to request it for?" This was my big moment, you know, for Shauna.
Ah, Shauna, your girlfriend at the time.
Yeah, so I say, "It's to Shauna from Paul. This is our song. I love you, baby." And then, without thinking, I heard myself say, "Thanks, Paul. I love you too." To the DJ. And then I had to quickly correct myself. "No, I don't love you. I mean, I love Shauna."
Paul, oh my gosh, that's hilarious and so awkward. I can just imagine the DJ's face.
He just goes, "Okay, right. I'll play your request next." I was so embarrassed. But I managed to say, "Thanks a lot, Mr. DJ." Shauna did get the message though, eventually.
That's a classic example of when words just fail you, or you get a little too caught up in the moment. It brings us to the whole topic of interrupting, or just generally getting someone's attention. I think it's Unit 7 in the Politeness Handbook, interrupting gracefully.
Oh, that's a good one. I remember a time I was deep in thought and someone just started with, you, hey, you. And I was genuinely confused. Are you talking to me?
And they probably said, yes, you. It's such a jarring way to get someone's attention, isn't it? It just feels so impersonal.
Exactly. I remember telling them that is not very polite, and they were surprised it's not? No, it's not polite at all. It made me realize some people just genuinely don't know.
It's true. Sometimes people need a gentle reminder. What did you tell them to say?
I said, if you would like to interrupt me or get my attention, you can say, excuse me. They tried it, excuse me? And I affirmed, yes, that's right. You can even say, pardon me. They repeated, pardon me? And I was like, yes, that's right. Now, let's start again. I felt like a manners coach.
That's fantastic. And what did they want after all that training?
That's the kicker. I said, very good. What can I do for you? And they just looked at me blankly. I'm sorry. I forgot why I was interrupting you. All that effort for nothing.
Oh, that's brilliant. It's like the lesson was learned, but the purpose was lost. But those phrases, excuse me and pardon me, they're so versatile. You can use them for everything. Like when you just need the time. Excuse me, do you have the time?
Yeah, exactly. A simple yes, it's 3:30. And a quick 3:30. Great, it's polite, efficient. Or if someone's hogging the newspaper, pardon me, are you finished with the sports section yet?
Definitely. It opens the door without being demanding. I've used it countless times. Yes, I am finished with the sports section. And then you can follow up. Could you tell me who won the game? Brazil or France? Or they might just hand it over. Here, you can have the sports section. It's smooth.
It really is. And it works for minor inconveniences too, like if you need a lighter from someone. Sorry to interrupt, do you have a lighter? Though I don't smoke, so that's not an issue for me. No, I don't. I don't smoke.
Right. It's all about that initial approach. Which brings us to Unit 8, asking for information. Sometimes you need more than just a quick yes or no. You need specifics, like about visa requirements for traveling.
Oh, that's a whole other level of asking. You can't just, excuse me, do you have a visa? It's a proper interaction. I'm hoping you can help me. The person responds, what do you need help with?
And then you state your need clearly. I'm looking for information about visa requirements. But then, the essential follow-up, visa requirements. For what country, because obviously does it matter what country, is not going to fly.
Exactly. Yes, different countries have different requirements. I mean, it seems obvious, but people forget. I've literally had that conversation. Really? Yes, really. For example, New Zealand has different requirements than United States.
It highlights the importance of being specific when you ask for information. So, what's the best way to get that kind of info?
Well, you could ask, what is the best way to find information about visa requirements? And the standard answer is, well, maybe you can find information on the internet, but the best thing to do is go to the embassy of the country you want to go to.
Solid advice. Definitely. Direct source is always best for official stuff. So if I go to the embassy, I will find out what information I need?
That's right. And if you're lucky, they can even tell you where to find it. Do you happen to know where the American Embassy is?
Precisely. Like it's on Broadway Avenue next to the McDonald's.
So specific. That's the dream, getting that clear, actionable information. You walk away thinking, thank you so much, good luck, and you're ready to go.
Speaking of specifics, remember that time we were trying to figure out a restaurant's closing time? It was so confusing, like a riddle. Hello, I just wanted to ask what time do you close?
Oh, yeah. And they came back with, what day, sir? Because it's never a simple answer. I was like, oh, Fridays. You gotta specify the day.
And then they give you the whole breakdown. On Friday and Saturday, the kitchen closes at midnight, and the restaurant closes at 2. And then you have to ask, and weekdays?
Right, on weekdays the kitchen closes at 10 p.m. and the restaurant closes at midnight. It's like, just give me all the info at once. And then you have to clarify further, what time do you stop serving drinks?
Because that's a whole other beast. We stop serving drinks about 10 minutes before closing. And then for good measure, and what time do you open? So you know the whole cycle.
We open at 10 a.m. every day. So much information just for one simple question. What time do you close? But it's essential, you know? Saves you a wasted trip.
Absolutely. It's all about clarity when asking and answering, but sometimes people ask you things, and you're just like, what exactly do you want from me? Like that time you kept pressing me about breakfast.
Oh, that was a good one. I was trying to be friendly. Are you going to work tomorrow? You said, yes, of course. And I'm like, what time are you going to work? Trying to gauge your availability.
I said, 9 a.m. I have to be at work by 9 a.m. And then you, Paul, you went in for the kill. So you were free before 9 a.m.?
I was just trying to pin you down, and you were quick. No, I'll be getting ready for work before 9 a.m. So I had to cut to the chase. Wait, what do you want? Do you want to have breakfast with me tomorrow morning?
And I had to gently decline. No, that's okay. I've seen you every day this week. But you, ever the persistent one, but I want to see you every day.
I just miss my friend. But you were firm. No, that's way too much. Fair enough, I guess. Space is good too.
Space is definitely good. Speaking of needing space, or perhaps an object, remember that wild story you told me about your bicycle?
Oh, no, the bicycle story. This is where asking for favors goes wrong. So I started, do you remember the other day when you said your bicycle is old?
I do remember that. You said, yes, my bicycle is getting kind of old now, and then you were setting me up. So you remember saying that, right?
Right, that's what I said. And you said you should get a new bicycle. You agreed, yes, if I get some extra money I should get a new bicycle. It was all building up to my confession, you see.
You were so careful. Remember how you said that if I wanted to borrow your bicycle I could? I confirmed, sure, I said that. You are my friend. And then I knew something was up. Wait, what's your point?
The moment of truth. Well, I borrowed your bicycle to go to 7-Eleven and someone stole it. The silence on the other end was deafening.
My jaw dropped. What? Who stole my bicycle? I couldn't believe it. And then you had the audacity to say, but there's no problem, right? You were planning on getting a new one.
I mean, it was technically true you were planning on it. It just expedited the process for you. In a very unfortunate way, I'm sorry.
I guess that's one way to look at it. It was certainly a memorable ask. But hey, at least you were honest, eventually. Sometimes asking for information is less about getting something back, and more about just figuring out where you are, literally.
Yeah, like directions. Excuse me, could you tell me how to get to the bus station from here? A simple question, you'd think.
But rarely simple in big cities. Which bus station do you want to go to? And then the surprise, there's more than one bus station?
That's when you realize you're truly lost. Yes, there are 4 bus stations. And you're just like, oh, I did not know that. Humbling, really. You have to specify, well, I want to go to LA.
And then the local expert kicks in. Okay, LA is west of here, so you need to go to the Western Bus Terminal. And then you have to ask, where is the Western Bus Terminal?
That's over in Finchley. It's too far to walk. You'll have to take a bus or a taxi. That's when you decide, I think I'll take a taxi. Much easier. And then a simple, okay, just tell the taxi driver you want to go to the Western Bus Station. Great, thanks a lot. You're welcome. Relief.
Total relief. And sometimes, while you're trying to figure things out, you overhear some really bizarre conversations. Like that time in the lobby with the guy and his watch.
Oh, I remember that. Some guy was insisting his watch was real. It is. The guy said it was. Look, it says Rolex. And the other person was just having none of it. It's an F. That's an R. You need glasses.
It was so awkward, and I was trying to ask for directions. I had to interrupt. Excuse me? Yes? Pardon me for interrupting, but I'm lost, trying to find my way back to my hotel.
And what did they say, the warring watch factions?
Well, they both stopped arguing to help, kind of. One asked, where are you staying? I told them, I'm staying at the Penta Hotel. And then they started arguing with each other about the best way to get there. Oh, the best way to get back is take the subway. Take the subway? Yes, there is a subway station opposite your hotel. And then the other one jumps in, oh, okay. No, the best way is to take the bus.
Classic. Everyone thinks their way is the best way. What was the argument for the bus?
Why? The bus takes longer. She's clearly from out of town, and the subway can be dangerous. And the other person immediately fired back, the subway is not dangerous this time of day. It's not. It is real.
Wait, did the "it is real" part come from the Rolex argument? They mixed their arguments?
Yes, it was chaos. No, it's not. And the subway is not dangerous either. The bus is funnier. It's got a view. I was just standing there, like, I just want to go to my hotel.
And then someone, probably the subway advocate, chimed in, yeah, but I mean, this is fast. You can just go vroom and head back to the hotel. And the bus person who wants to go vroom. Anyway, it's incredible how much energy people put into debating the trivial when someone just needs a simple answer.
Right? And I think at some point, the Rolex guy just shouted, this is real. It was an unforgettable moment of public discourse. I eventually just picked one and made my escape.
Good for you. Sometimes you just have to choose a path. All of these interactions, they show that asking for something, whether it's an appointment, a favor, or just directions, is never just a simple transaction. It's a whole dance of communication.
It truly is. From the specific wording to the context, and even the personalities involved. Take, for example, asking for a simple light in a public space.
Oh, that's another one where common assumptions get you. Good afternoon? Good afternoon? How may I help you? This is at an information booth, right? Very official.
Exactly. So you think you're going to get a straight answer. Well, I have a question. And the person says, well, this is the information booth. I have an answer for you. Very confident.
And then you hit them with the classic, do you have a light? Expecting a simple yes or no.
But the person is confused. I'm sorry, I don't understand what you mean. Because they're in an information booth, not a convenience store. So you clarify, do you have a light for a cigarette?
And then the inevitable, oh, I'm sorry, I don't. You're not allowed to smoke indoors. Which, given the era, makes total sense.
It does. So then you pivot your question. Oh, I see. Do you have a smoking area around here? To which they can provide actual information. Yes, just outside in the parking lot, there is a bench and an ashtray there. That way?
And then, the helpful addition, yes, and perhaps you will find someone with a light there. It's like a little treasure hunt of information and social navigation. Thank you.
You're welcome. Exactly. It all comes back to how we phrase our requests, anticipate needs, and adapt when the initial ask isn't understood. From booking something mundane to grand declarations of love, and even just getting a simple direction, everyday interactions are a rich tapestry of human connection.
They really are. And sometimes they lead to stolen bicycles and awkward radio moments. But that's life, isn't it? Full of unexpected twists and turns when you just try to communicate.
Absolutely. So, the next time you ask for something, take a moment to appreciate the subtle art of conversation. And maybe bring a spare tire if you're helping someone out. Thanks for joining us on the Daily Chit Chat.
Yeah, thanks for listening, everyone. We'll catch you next time for more everyday insights.